how do you isolate that? I mean, how do you have that honest discussion with families?
Well, I think we had people who chose to farm and other people need a choice as well.
Yeah.
The terrible burden comes when the expectation is something you decide to take on and it's not something you want to do.
Right.
And sooner or later it eats at the soul, resentment comes in. You're always looking across the fence. It coulda, woulda, shoulda been. And so this is where there are so many people of younger generations who want nothing more than to respect the people who started the business and earn the right to continue it. Now, the challenge is, how can you do that economically? Because I've also talked with senior generation who really want to transition the farm. But I said, but you don't have a business you can transition. Between the debt you've taken on and you've chosen to self-insure for your long-term health care, this means you have to keep those assets for you. And so here you are, because a grandson says, here I've been back 5 years and I want to keep going, but grandpa and grandma still. And I said, you can't count on anything. Grandpa and grandpa are going to need what they have for themselves. And here's your dad at age 60 and a father who says to him, someday I ought to be turning something over to my boy. I said, your boy's 60, you screwed your kids. We're talking grandkids here. And by the way, is there anything that even can transition? So when I bring that mirror, I'm holding up the mirror to reality. And we've got really good advisors that can help them figure out where they stand. Like, you really need a certified financial planner. And I know you're so familiar with that, Jane. Yeah. But they're the ones who say, okay, what do you need to live on? Where's the money going to come from? Because I'm going to tell you something profound, Jane. People have to live until they die. That's it. So we have to figure out how they're going to live, what are they going to live on? And so we have to have good advisors. And then we need to have something that assures their security so that the next generation takes the risk on what they could lose or they could grow. But you are okay. This is why the advisory team of a financial planner, an attorney, and a CPA are so very important.
Oh, gosh, yes. Yes.
If we can get them same place, same time, we save a heck of a lot of money. And then give them written permission to talk to each other on your behalf.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Thomas does that all the time. I was just thinking about that when he farmed. And then when he tried to go back to the farm, Mr. Herlong was not able to sustain the farm for two incomes, for two separate ones. So Thomas, very fortunate, though, that Strom Thurmond appointed him ASCS, which is now Farm Services Director for all the ag in South Carolina, which was a springboard to what he's doing now with this legacy planning and retirement planning and so on. But I will never forget, the first person he went to see was his dad. And here, Mr. Herlong was a college graduate, went to Clemson. And he said, Dad, you got to get a financial plan going. And so the first thing he did was get his parents signed up for long-term care. Thank God his mama passed. His daddy didn't, sadly. But boy, did that end up being a blessing, because she had Alzheimer's for like 10 years. Wow. And so she was in a facility and we just loved her. But man, that thing just, how Alzheimer's is. But the second person he talked to was my daddy. And he said, Mr. Jenkins, you've got to get a financial plan. I will physically take you somewhere. That's how important it is for you to have a financial plan. And so, speaking of that, Thomas was just calling me. And so my daddy did some planning with Thomas and bought some annuities, which was a huge blessing. Went to the best attorney in Charleston, got all of his business straight. And, Mama had income coming in. But I'll never forget how, and I look back on that, what an absolute God's hands blessing on Thomas, where he could help my in-laws and my parents move ahead into their retirement years. And my mother really had nothing to worry about. We did have a bad family problem because we let a family member probate the will. Oof. And that's it. That destroyed. It really did. My family's still very fractured. But you have to forgive, because if you don't, it's going to eat you alive.
Exactly.
Forgiveness makes no sense. But I always tell somebody, you're releasing someone from prison. You just didn't know that you were the prisoner.
Yeah.
And so that's hard to do. I know you probably deal with that a lot. People just have grudges and just say, but you don't know what he did to me. And you don't know what happened. So, I mean, that's common though. People pointing fingers and blaming. I can't imagine going into that. I would have to pray and get oil and anoint myself, Jolene.
Well,
Like the Bible says,
I watch
anoint
my backside sometimes when I walk out the door because I've used the 2x4. But Jane, here was the magic of Thomas. He actually was able to create a motivational climate that they would do something.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
running into the family's way. By golly, my parents didn't tell me what to do. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm working with a family where I have 4 of it's actually 3rd generation, but their mom owns all the land and she's in assisted living. And those 4 have been building her net worth, paying her bills all these years. They said to me, we don't even know if mom's got a will. Would you go talk to her? And I said, does your mom want to talk to me? And they said, yes, she wants to talk to you. We've been telling her about you. So I went and I listened to the wonderful history of that family and her growing up days. And then she said, you know, Jolene, about my will, I'm not going to tell my kids because right now they all come to see me.
Oh no.
So one of the things I will start with in my speeches are the biggest destroyers of a family and business. And the first is silence. Is the biggest destroyer of family and business. You don't even have to like the rules of the game, but you deserve to know them. And then ethically, because I did say to her, you know, wow, if you do this, you do know they will have to sell the farm and they will never talk to each other again. Now, while you're of sound mind, and she still was, if you want to make some changes, there are really good advisors who could help you figure out some different types of options.
Mm-hmm.
And then ethically, I could not go back and tell the 2nd generation what she told me.
Right.
But I did say to them, you know, I don't like plan A. So if I were in your shoes, I'd be getting to plan B real quick.